For just as there can be no happiness, joy, or state of well-being when a multitude rules and spreads disorder, so too the spirit loses its stability when it does not pursue a single goal and does not devote itself fully to it. Likewise, in any body there can be no health if there is no unity among its parts and no harmony in their agreement. Seneca states that serenity is born from order and unity. Just as happiness cannot exist in chaos, the spirit becomes unstable when it is divided among too many goals. To live well, it is necessary to pursue a single purpose with consistency, just as the body is healthy only when all its parts are in harmony. There is no strong and healthy body that never falls ill. There are no riches that cannot fade away. There is no power so great that it cannot be overthrown. All these realities are fragile and transient, and whoever bases their life upon them will live in constant unease and fear, will suffer and be afflicted. They will not attain what they aspire to, and will end up encountering precisely what they feared. Only the human soul is more secure than any impregnable fortress. Why then do we continually strive to weaken this single stronghold? Why do we concern ourselves with things that cannot bring joy to the soul and neglect the only thing capable of granting true inner peace? We all forget that if our conscience is pure, no one can truly offend us, and that every conflict and enmity arise solely from our foolishness and from the desire to possess trivial external things. Every truly great truth is realized through slow and imperceptible growth. In this statement, Lev Tolstoy expresses a profound vision of truth and human change. According to the author, authentic truths, those that genuinely transform both the individual and society, do not impose themselves by force, nor do they appear suddenly. On the contrary, they grow over time through experience, inner reflection, mistakes, and personal maturation. True change is often invisible to the eye, yet continuous and inevitable, much like the growth of a plant or the evolution of consciousness. Tolstoy therefore invites us to patience, to trust in slow processes, and to the awareness that anything of lasting value requires time to develop.
Heaven is indignant with us for our sins, the world for our virtues. Moritz Gottlieb. Saphir's statement highlights a profound contradiction between moral judgment and social judgment. Heaven represents the ethical or spiritual sphere, which appears to condemn human errors and weaknesses. The world, on the other hand, symbolizes society, which often does not turn against flaws, but against virtues. Those who act with integrity, honesty, or consistency may appear unsettling because they expose the inconsistencies of others and disrupt balances based on habit or hypocrisy. In this sense, the statement suggests that living virtuously does not guarantee approval, but may instead attract criticism and hostility. Saphir thus invites reflection on the value of virtue and on the courage required to uphold it in a world that does not always recognize or reward it.
Just as the calm that at times envelops the sea does not completely eliminate the movement of the waters, but rather moderates it, so too a tempered emotion remains in part natural. Indeed, everything that is guided by reason still moves towards something and strives for an end, following its own inner guide. Anger and desire, on the other hand, which often seek to dominate the human mind, arise for the most part from an error of judgment. Seneca explains that emotions should not be eliminated but governed by reason. Just as a calm sea is not motionless, a balanced person experiences feelings without being overwhelmed by them. Emotions such as anger and desire become harmful when they take control of the mind, because they are not guided by reason but by mistaken judgments of reality.
A free person is one who desires what happens, but does this mean that everything that comes to mind will always and inevitably happen? Absolutely not. For example, grammar teaches us how to write whatever we wish using letters and words, yet in order to write our own name, we cannot choose letters at random, otherwise we would never truly write our name. Instead, we must want to write precisely the necessary letters and in the correct order. The same applies to all things. We would never learn anything if we acted only on momentary impulse. Therefore, to be truly free, one must not desire indiscriminately whatever passes through the mind. Rather, a free person learns to desire what happens, living in harmony with events, because nothing happens by chance, but according to the will of the one who governs the entire universe. Wise people do not judge, they seek to understand. For Wei Wu Wei, true wisdom arises when judgment ceases. Judgment is an act of the ego that divides reality into opposing categories, creating separation and conflict. To seek understanding instead means to observe without labels, allowing reality to reveal itself as it truly is. When judgment comes to a halt, the mind grows quiet and makes room for a deeper, more natural understanding. Inspired by Taoism and the principle of Wu Wei, non-action, Wei Wu Wei teaches that understanding is not something to be forced, but something that arises spontaneously when we stop interfering with what is happening.
One is not strong if one is unable to endure the upheavals of life and is instead swept away by events like raging waves. True strength requires a calm and steady spirit, not one disturbed or ruled by anger. Like the deep sea, which, though shaken by the full force of storms, remains stable in its place, so too does a strong spirit remain firm. Even when fate strikes, it does not lose its integrity and always preserves the same image of itself. Seneca explains that true strength does not lie in impulsive reactions or harshness, but in the ability to maintain inner balance in the face of adversity. Those who are truly strong are not dominated by anger or violent emotions. Instead, they remain steady, like the deep sea that does not change despite storms on the surface. Wisdom lies in self-control and inner coherence, even when life puts one to the test.
Reading and writing do not represent true culture, unless they help people become better and more respectful toward every living being. In this statement, John Ruskin emphasizes that culture does not simply coincide with education or with the ability to read and write. True culture, according to him, is measured by the ability to develop empathy, moral responsibility, and respect for every creature. Knowledge has value only when it helps make people more aware, ethical, and humane.
The difference between a reasonable person and an unreasonable one lies in this. The unreasonable person constantly worries and grieves over what does not depend on them, such as children, parents, siblings, work, or material possessions. The reasonable person, by contrast, if they experience unease or distress, does so only over what depends directly on them, their own thoughts, desires, and actions. When something unpleasant happens to us or we face a difficulty, we tend to blame other people or fate, instead of reflecting on the fact that if something external, and therefore not under our control, causes us suffering, it means that there is something within us that needs to be understood and corrected.